After we chased them out, nobody wanted to say anything. Of course y'all didn't. All of the suspicious ones had been driven away. Even though we knew there might be some innocents among them, we still did it. We chased them out of this paradise, where people don't have to suspect each other. But our motive for chasing them out was suspicion of one person towards another. The worst kind of crime for a human. If we had accepted the existence of a 19th person of the witch, then we all might still be talking face to face, trusting in each other. In that instant, we had agreed to chase out all of the suspicious people, but had that been the right thing to do? During this endless silence, we could do nothing but be quietly tormented by that sin. Nasi faced the door without letting go of her rifle for even an instant, sitting far back in the sofa. She would probably spend the night staring at the door without a wink of sleep. Jordaniki gazed through a gap in the closet curtain and by the window, looking down at the courtyard at the mansion that surrounded it. I didn't know whether he was checking to see if a suspicious shadow would become visible through the window, or whether he was wondering to himself about something. Jessica was sitting sideways on the sofa next to Aunt Natsuhi with a dead expression on her face. And every once in a while, as though she just remembered something, she'd take out an inhaler she had used during her asthma attack and stick it in her mouth. I just heard it from Maniki, but apparently Jessica liked Kennen-kun. It was apparently so vague that she hadn't realized it herself. You know, it's the kind of thing other people tend to spot before the person in question realizes it, which means she might have first learned of her feelings when the person she liked died. It must have been so terrible, so sad. Come to think of it, Kennen-kun was the one who handed her that inhaler. Maybe she was remembering that. I was fishing around grandfather's study, thinking I'd research the meaning of the magic circle on the second sheet. Even though we were shut up here in a defensive position, my rebellious nature made me want to find some key, some way to resist. After all, we've got plenty of time before tomorrow morning. Who could fault me for how I used that time? No one else showed that much interest in this magic circle. Its meaning was unknown, and once we understood it, we were sure to find some message that would cause us unnecessary anguish. I felt the same way. However, I couldn't just ignore it, so I killed time by going through the motions of researching it.
熱心だね。
And he's doing the right thing right now.
何か手がかりになるようなことは見つけられたかい？
さっぱりさ。
Not a thing.
そもそも日本語で書かれた本を探すことからして骨だぜ。じいさまは一体何カ国語を読めたってんだ。
A lot, apparently.
大したもんだぜ。
バトラ君は眠くないの？誰かが起きていてくれてるうちに休んだ方がいいよ。ナスヒおばさんは寝ず番をしてくれると言ってるけど、体が持つわけない。ローテーションで休んだ方がいいよ。
じゃあ兄貴が先に休めよ。俺は眠気が来るまでちょいと調べ物をしてるさ。
さっきの魔法陣？
まあな。
Yep.
どうせ時間は腐るほどあるさ。ベアトリーチェ様がどういうメッセージを込めやがったのか面白そうだと思ってよ。
よせよ。そういうのやってると 妙なのに取りつかれちまうぜ。
安心しろよ。俺はマリアにお墨付きをもらってるぜ。俺には霊的才能は活気しなんだとよ。
マリアのこと邪険にしすぎたかな。
ジェシカ、今はそれを考えてはなりません。
でも母さん、もしもマリアが無関係で犯人が他にいたなら、犯人は襲いやすい相手を狙うに決まってる。それで殺されたなら、私たちは見殺しにしたことになるよ。
Your own family member, how does it feel? You stupid, stupid people. A gloomy silence settled once again. It looked like Jessica regretted letting her emotions take hold of her and snapping at Maria. Yeah, a 9-year-old. She's always been like that. Always acting tough and regretting it later.
気持ちはわかりますが、マリアは犯人と接触し、
Maria is also a 9-year-old girl.
こともあろうか、その肩を持つように煙に巻く発言を繰り返しています。私は、この部屋から追い出せて、清々しています。
Are you now?
夏日おばさんって結構きついっすね。9歳の女の子のザレ言かもしれないじゃないっすか。
It probably wasn't very convincing to hear that coming from me. I myself thought Maria was creepy on several occasions, even doubting her true nature. And when Maria was chased out of this room, I couldn't deny I felt some relief.
もしそうだったなら、明日謝罪します。彼らをこの部屋から追い出したのは、すべて私の責任です。
What do you mean you apologize? What, you apologize to her dead body? Yes, I'm pretty sure that message will be conveyed to her in the afterlife.
だから、あなたたちが気に病むことはないのです。
Sure. You'll take full responsibility, huh? By offing yourself? By turning yourself over to the police? I wonder. I could feel a tragic determination in Aunt Natsuhi's words. To protect her own daughter, she had resolutely chased out the suspicious ones. And if, as a result, she had to watch the people who had unfortunately been suspected die, so be it. She was prepared to take full responsibility.
なんでマリアってあんなことばかり言うんだよ。自分で自分の首を絞めてるぜ。
もともと、マリアちゃんが魔女や魔法に傾倒するようになったのは、僕は、ローザおばさんのせいじゃないかと思ってる。
All these suspects, all you guys suspecting all of this nonsense, okay.
ローザおばさんのせい？何がどう関係してるってんだよ。
バトラ君だって気づいてるんじゃないかい。マリアちゃんの本当の父親は、ずいぶん昔に蒸発してるんだ。
Yep.
おばさんはそれを、海外出張とか言ってごまかしているけどね。
後宮家では、ローザさんたちに関わる話はタブーとされているところがあります。
おばさんは再婚だって考えたと思うよ。でも、マリアちゃんの存在が枷になって、非常に難しかったんじゃないかと思うんだ。
Shackles, huh?
だっておばさんは時折、ものすごく感情的にマリアちゃんに当たっていたから。
She abused her child. Say it properly.
それについては同感だぜ。ローザおばさんはマリアを好きになろうと努力してるように見えた。ってことはつまり好きじゃないってことなんだよな。再婚の妨げになっているマリアに思うところがあったんだろうよ。
母親の感情的な拒絶がきっと彼女の幼い心に深い傷を残したと思うんだ。
Trust me, it did, but that's really matter right now.
そしてどこかでオカルト趣味と出会い、 心の隙間を埋めるように没頭していく。知ってるかい？マリアちゃんにとって魔女のイメージは決してネガティブなものじゃないんだよ。ほら、昨日海岸でマリアちゃんのノートを見せてもらわなかったかい？
ああ。なんだか楽しそうな落書きでいっぱいだったぜ。
Yesterday, when we were down at the beach doubting the witch, Maria got all riled up and started explaining about witches. And not one of the pages had shown a picture of an ugly witch. They were all brightly colored, beautiful, cute witches who looked like they were having fun. There were absolutely nothing sinister about them, like a boy might have imagined. They were beings adored with beautiful dresses, who could grant anyone's dreams with their mysterious magic and who made everyone happy. The sorrow of not being loved by her mother had Maria sought help from witches as beings who could give her happiness to save her. Someday, a witch would come and using her wonderful magic would bring Maria happiness, even though she believed that. As she grew older, she had to face reality as her fleeting dreams were sliced to ribbons one by one. If something claimed to be the witch of Rokenjima appeared in front of a girl like that, whispering that she'd take Maria to the Golden Land, where Maria could be happy.
僕は今頃になって胸中を告白するよ。マリアちゃんを、いや、源氏さんたちを追い出したのは多分いけないことだったんじゃないかな。
気まずくは
Great. Great. Now you're admitting to it how stupid you were. Since Jessica had been the one to face them and slam them with the words of rejection, her conscience must be tormenting her a lot right now.
なら、皆さんはあの手紙をどう説明するのですか？私の後ろにいた4人以外の誰にも置くことはできなかった。それは私がこの目ではっきり確認しています。あの4人が潔白だというなら、どうやってこの密室の8人もの人間がいる中で手紙を置けたというのですか？
そうなんだよ。その話が始まっちまうと、確かに4人は怪しいってことになっちまう。
They seem suspicious.
だが、全然ダメなんだ。ああ、全然ダメだぜ。
ダメって何がだい？
ああ、もう今さら何の役にも立たないかもしれねえが、またチェス盤をひっくり返させてくれ。つまり、あの4人が本当に犯人だってんならよ、おかしいんだよ。
そうだぜ。あんなテーブルの上に堂々と置いたら、この中に犯人がいますよと告白するようなもんじゃねえか。そうだよ。おかしい。
That is weird.
やるなら、例えば扉の隙間に置いて廊下側から差し込まれたように見せかけるとか。そうだよ。部屋の外に犯人がいるように見せかけなきゃ自分が疑われてしまうことが分かってたはず。
And now you're seeing it from another perspective. It's far too late for you, though.
ああ、そういうことなんだ。あの4人の中に犯人がいたとして、テーブルのど真ん中に手紙をポンと置くことは、リスクばかりで何の意味もないんだ。だが、どうやってそこに手紙を置いたかのトリックは置いといて、あの4人以外の誰か、すなわち、この部屋の外に犯人がいたと仮定したとき、
Someone who was outside the
あの
room
手紙には大きな意味が生まれる。
to gain from that letter.
よしなさい、バトラ君。今さら些細な問題です。
Oh no, it is definitely not meaningless because now you realize your mistake. You realize how much you fucked up. And now you're going to be the cause of 4 deaths. Natsuhi-san quickly guessed what I was getting at. No, maybe she had thought of it long before I had and had simply held her tongue. Oh, and there's also her little door incident that she's keeping hidden from everybody.
この部屋の外に犯人がいて、俺たちが外からは手出しをできない密室に立てこもっちまったらお手上げだ。ああ、そうだよ。この部屋からじいさまがいなくなったって話の時、俺が披露した説じゃねえか。じいさまが自分から出ていくという説。自分から出ていくような何かの細工を犯人がして、まんまと外へおびき出していたのだとしたら。
Yes. Come to think of it, when we found the scorpion magic circle on the doorknob to study, Maria said it herself. Beatrice couldn't get through this door, but she could induce someone to leave of their own accord.
だとすると、私たちは犯人の罠に見事はまって、
Yep.
新しい生贄候補を送り出しちまったことになるぜ。
Yep.
源氏たちもバカではありません。身を守ろうと思うなら、この部屋の次に安全な場所をすぐに思いつくでしょう。
And that would be...
そこできっと身を潜めています。
Natsuhi hadn't answered the question. Natsuhi herself had realized that if the culprit wasn't in the group back then, that letter would make sense as a trap. However, it wasn't worth the risk of calling back the people she had once thrown out. To Aunt Natsuhi, right now, her greatest and only duty was to protect the children. By her thinking, in order to do that, a few sacrifices were unavoidable.
なあ、夏日おばさん、きついこと聞くぜ。もしあの時、たまたまジェシカもおばさんの後ろにいたなら、おばさんはこの部屋からジェシカも追い出してたかい？
Wow.
確かに残酷なところはあったかもしれない。でも、夏日おばさんは母として娘を守りきろうと思った。
That she did.
その責務から自分がやがては糾弾されることを覚悟で彼らを追放したんだ。
Yep.
俺は別にそれを責めてえわけじゃねえ。ただその
I am.
ジェシカはいいお袋を持ったなってそう思ったのさ。
そうだね。夏日おばさんは朝からずっと続いているこんな事件の中でも冷静さを失わずずっとみんなを牽引してきてくれた。
Without losing your composure. Nope, she lost her composure a lot of times.
もしおばさんまで混乱していたら僕たちは今頃全員犯人の手にかかっていたかもしれない。だから僕たちはおばさんに感謝しなくちゃいけないと思う。
I like the fact that Natsuhi is just going to leave the fact that she was protected by that little gem to herself.
ありがとう。
バトラたちの言いたいことは、マリアの母でもあってほしいって。私、マリアのことを実の妹みたいだとずっと。なのにいろんなことがあってちょっと混乱しちゃって。
A little confused?
ひどいことをたくさん言って傷つけてしまった。
Did you?
母さん、お願いだよ。マリアもみんなも私たちの中に犯人なんていなかったんだよ。この事件の犯人は魔女のベアトリーチェでいいじゃないか。だからもう疑い合うのはやめようよ。
Don't do that. Aunt Natsuhi closed her eyes for a short while. Was she coping with her throbbing headache again, or was she thinking of something?
ジェシカは主人と結婚してから12年もかけてようやく授かった。大切な私はジェシカを守るためならどのような鬼にでもなります。
She realized very well that her words were an idealized view of what a mother should be, but even so, she was strongly resolved to protect her daughter even if she had to become a demon. But that was her guilty conscience tormenting her. Today's been so long. So many things happened in one day, and we've been driven into a corner so thoroughly. I wonder if we have the right to greet tomorrow the way we are now. There it is.
見つけた。この魔法陣だ。
Inside the book I've been flipping through, I had found the same magic circle that had been drawn on the second sheet of the letter. George and Nikki peered at it as well. This magic circle name was the third magic circle of Mars. The Hebrew written on it was from Phism 7:7 verse 13 of the Old Testament. What God is so great as our God. The meaning of the magic circle was discord. Agitate interval divisions and cause the enemy to bring about their own downfall.
おいおい、マジかよ。
Could there be a more fitting way to describe our current situation and mental state? We couldn't help but be stunned into silence.
じゃあこの手紙は罠だってのかよ。どうやってここに置いたんだよ。この部屋には私たち8人以外には誰もいなかったんだぜ。
とにかくどうやってここに置いたのか、その方法は捨ておくぜ。とにかく犯人の狙いはたった一つ。
Yep.
この鉄壁の書斎に疑心暗鬼を引き起こして生贄の羊を俺たちの手で外へ放り出させることだったんだ。
Yep.
だとしたら、狙いは外へ出された人たちだ。
And the only one who's going to be protected is Maria.
母さん、どうしよう。あの4人が危ない。
It wasn't surprising that Aunt Natsuhi remained unpleasantly silent. Even if this was all a trap by the culprit, even if the four who had been chased out of the room were in danger, it had nothing to do with the safety of the four people in here. And there was no way to prove the innocence of the four people we chased out. If we're willing to let them die, then we shouldn't leave this room no matter what. That way is safest. At that time, suddenly the piercing sound of a phone rang through the room. It was the antique extended phone set on the table in grandfather's study, and it had rung right after we started talking about the letter being a trap. It was natural we'd think of it as an SOS from the ones we chased out. But then Aunt Natsuhi spoke.
どうして電話が故障していて使えないはずなのに。
そんなことは関係ねえさ。もしマリアたちが助けを求める電話だったら。
そもそも電話の普通が犯人の工作によるものならば、この電話はおそらく。
With that one sentence, the ring of the phone, which had once sounded like a scream for help, now started to sound like a ghastly lure from some unknown person. Aunt Natsuhi hesitated over whether to pick up the receiver.
トロ、おばさん。何かの理由で電話が回復したのかも。マリアちゃんたちからの緊急の電話の可能性もある。
そうだぜ。それに万一犯人からの電話だったら上等さ。話を聞いてやろうじゃねえか。それにどうせ電話だ。受話器越しに何をほざいたって痛くも痒くもないぜ。
おばさんが取らないなら俺が取るぜ。
私が取ります。もしもし。
I stretched out my hand to take the receiver, but Aunt Natsuhi grabbed it before I could reach. We all held our breath, trying to figure out who the person on the other end of the phone was. But for a while, Aunt Natsuhi kept saying hello. a silent phone call. There's no way Maria and the others would do something so creepy, which means this phone call possibly really be? Natsuki stopped repeating hello and strained her ears because she thought she heard something far away on the other end of the receiver. What was that?
これは
歌って何ですか、おばさん。
わかりません。電話の向こうでかすかに誰かが歌っているのが聞こえます。何のことやら。
ちょっと受話器を借りますぜ。もしもし。
I half forced the receiver from the stunned Aunt Natsuki's hand and pressed it against my ear. At first I didn't hear anything, but because I had been told about it beforehand, I noticed. It sounded far away from the receiver rather than someone speaking in a quiet voice, and it sounded like a girl singing a song. That voice did sound like Maria's, but that just made the situation even more inexplicable. At the very least, the one who had made the phone call hadn't been Maria. After all, Maria was singing some song far away from the receiver. In that case, the one who made the phone call should have been Genji-san, Kumasawa-san, or Dr. Nanjo, and yet they weren't saying anything. Why? For what reason? The person who made this phone call, who was it?
おい、もしもし。誰だ、返事をしろ。歌ってるのはマリアなのか。返事をしてくれ。
何が起こってんだよ。どういうことだ。
わからねえ。一つ言えることは、多分これは罠で、そしてマリアが危険だってことだけだ。
Aunt Natsuki took the receiver again, but after yelling into it several more times, she realized that she wasn't getting anywhere and hung up. After that, she dialed quickly. Then she clicked her tongue. That's right, if the phones are working, we should be able to reach the police. But judging by Aunt Natsuki's reaction, the outside telephone line still didn't connect.
行こう。罠かもしれないことは分かってても行かないわけにはいかない。
ああ、まったくだぜ。ジェシカと夏井おばさんはここにいてくれ。
When Aniki and I tried to dash out, Aunt Natsuki stopped us.
お待ちなさい。あなたたちだけに行かせるわけにはいきません。私も行きます。ジェシカはここで待ちなさい。
私だけのけ者かよ。冗談じゃない。私も行くぜ。
そうだな。その方がいいかもしれねえぜ。
It's definitely gonna be better that
電話
way.
が俺たちをさらに分散させる狙いがあるってんなら、留守番を残すのは適当じゃねえ。
議論する暇も惜しい。みんなで行こう。
Natsuki raised the rifle high and took the lead. I couldn't go unarmed myself. I found a three-pronged candle stand and readied it. Although the pins on it used to flip candles were short, it was also like a three-pronged spear. Then the four of us left the study. We left the study, which should have been the safest place inside the mansion. By doing this, we had been lured out, even though we had barricaded ourselves in the safe closed room. Perhaps we were doing exactly the same thing grandfather had done when he had disappeared from that room.
Maria! どこにいるんだよ！返事をしろ！
I listened closely but didn't hear anything. The mansion was vast, and since the passing typhoon was making it its last stand, the sound of the rain was even noisier than before.
マリアちゃんは確か客までテレビを見たいと言ってたよね。 階下に降りてみよ
う。そうですね。行ってみましょう。みんなは周りに用心して。
おい。
With Aunt Natsuhi in the center, her rifle readied and her finger on the trigger. We moved in a group, our backs together, checking our surroundings in all directions. It was just as though the magic of that magic circle designed to spread discord had worked. We had split up and furthermore, had been dragged out into dangerous territory. In other words, even now, we were doing just what the culprit wanted us to do. This was a separate world where it wouldn't be odd for anything to suddenly occur. At Natsuhi nervously pointed the barrel of the gun at every dark spot and shadow. It felt like that motion was out of fear rather than caution. But the rifle she held in her hand should have been a trump card that the culprit feared.
僕はずっと思ってたんだ。カノン君のように胸にあのアイスピックを突き刺すことは不可能ではないと思う。でも母さんたちのように頭蓋骨を打ち抜いて眉間に突き立てるなんて簡単なことじゃないと思うんだ。
犯人はそれだけバカ力ってことか。
多分あのアイスピックを飛ばす、あるいは打ち込む射出機のような武器があるんだよ。
Magic。
人力だけであれだけ深々と刺突するにはあの絵は短すぎる。
いずれにせよ頭蓋骨を打ち抜くほどに強力です。カノンの傷も肺にまで届いていたそうです。もし相手の姿を見ても決して前に出ないように。私の後ろから出てはいけませんよ。
Just how sinister and frightening was the weapon that could shoot those creepy ice picks. And could I do anything to combat it with just this candle stand in my hand? In the first murder, the culprit probably assaulted all four of our parents at once as they discussed the inheritance problem in the dining hall. And there were four of us here now. Apparently, I wasn't the only person thinking this. George and Nikki, Jessica, and of course Aunt Natsuhi were stretching their senses to the utmost limit in the highest and worst state of tension, slowly advancing one step then another. What have we done? Because of the seeds of doubt spread by the one letter, we threw Maria and the rest into the middle of this terrifying world. We finally reached the first door. The parlor was just across the hall. When we listened carefully, we could hear it faintly, Maria's eerie singing voice. She wasn't singing naturally as though she were in a good mood. She was singing mechanically like she was at a graduation ceremony and she'd been ordered to do. The song she sang was just a common folk song, one that everyone had probably sung in school at one point or another. But why that? In the middle of the night, alone, with all her heart, over and over. Why? Right after leaving the study, we had called out in loud voices asking Maria where she was. But this time, no one said even a single word. We heard our breath and the sound of our footsteps and intensely focused on our surroundings to the point of becoming completely high-strung. We stepped forward. The door to the parlor was closed, but we could hear Maria's singing voice through it. Aunt Natsuhi put her hand on the handle of the doorknob when George and Nikki stopped her.
扉は僕が開ける。夏日おばさんとバトラ君は武器を構えてて。
わかりました。気をつけて。
開けると同時に攻撃してくるかもしれないぜ。
Go ahead.
ジョージ兄さん、注意して。
じゃあ 行くよ。
He tried to open it, but immediately felt the hard resistance of the lock. Aunt Natsu took the bundle of keys from her pocket and gave them to George. There were about 10 keys and none of us had a clue which was which. Because of this, George had to fumble around loudly and test several of the keys. Since we had hidden our footsteps preparing to make a surprise attack on the room, this felt almost fatal. The whole time we could hear Maria's voice from the parlor, singing the same song over and over. It was like a broken, crazy cassette tape. We'd been in that room almost instantly since morning. All the frightening things had occurred outside that room that had left us with the impression that only this room was safe. That baseless impression was quickly falling apart.
開いた。
ありがとう。ジョージ君とジェシカは後ろに下がって。
おばさん、一気に飛び込んで、左右に分かれよう。扉を開けてボサッとしたら、例のアイスピックがど真ん中に飛んでくるかもしれねえぜ。
承知しています。いいですか？
やっぱ嫌だって言いてえな。
I read it myself. If they're gonna be throwing ice picks, I'll whack them with this candle stand.
行きます！
Anasi and I rammed into the door before flying into the parlor, quickly splitting up left and right and searching the parlor for someone who might be waiting for us. But what our eyes landed upon was an incredibly strange sight. The parlor was stained with blood. This place where we spent almost the entire day, where we pressed in together to protect ourselves from some unknown malice, had been stained with fresh blood and had become an ocean of blood. On the floor lie Genji-san, Kumasawa-san, and Dr. Nanjo, their entire bodies stained red with the blood. But the only way we could identify them was by their clothes. That was because, that's right, this is how the whole tragedy started. Their faces, just like our smashed up parents in the shed. You couldn't tell where their eyes stopped and where their nose began. It was as though they'd rudely plunged their faces into tomato pies, all smushed up, or squished up. And that wasn't all. Their bodies had other wounds. It was those demon ice picks. They were in Genji-san's stomach. Dr. Nanjo's died. No, his knee. That's right, of course it's his knee. In the epitaph, the 6th twilight was the stomach, and on the 7th twilight, the knee was gouged. So, after seeing one of them stuck near Kumasawa-barikan's calf, I couldn't help masochistically laughing. That's right. On the 6th twilight, gouged the stomach and kill. On the 7th twilight, gouged the knee and kill. On the 8th twilight, gouged the leg and kill. Now even the 8th twilight is over. And the next one, the 9th twilight. What was it again? Maria was there. She was facing the wall in the inner part of the room, standing stock still completely alone. Her face away from this horrible scene, standing by the wall singing her song over and over. There was nothing else in the room. Just the corpses of the 3 who had been brutally killed and the phone receiver which was still off its hook, providing that this was the room that call had come from. Just that, and Maria heard back to the scene as she kept on singing while facing the wall. We couldn't even scream at this bizarre scene. We could only stare, shocked, with our mouths hanging loosely open. Maria. Jessica called out to her, but Maria showed no reaction. Alone, she kept singing on and on. We had come here trying to save Maria from some approaching danger. So now that we had found her, we could have been running up to Maria, hugging her joy that she was safe. And yet, not one of us could do that. Everyone thought it, but they couldn't say it. After all, because that's right, even if that's crazy, no, it couldn't be.
マリア、歌うのをやめろ。聞いてるのか？
At some point, Aunt Natsuhi and I pointed our weapons at Maria's back. I yelled at Maria in a violent voice, but there was no reaction. She just kept singing. With the candle stand still readied, I ran up to her and forcefully, violently slammed my hand down on her shoulder. Then I pulled on her shoulder, forcing her to turn around. Maria's small body was quickly pulled down and fell. And as though unhappy at having her singing interrupted, Maria looked into my face with her usual expression. Even in this grotesque situation, she was just like normal. She was.
マリア、これはどういうことなんだ？誰がやった？
おお、ベアトリーチェ。
いい加減にしろ！
I threw the candle stand I'd been holding against the wall. The violence of that reckless sound should have gone straight into Maria's heart, but Maria's expression didn't change at all.
よすんだバトラ君。マリアちゃん、今度こそ君は3人を殺す犯人の顔を見たはずだよ。犯人は君に手紙を渡したというベアトリーチェなのかい？
おお、ベアトリーチェ。
ああ、ならこれで確定したぜ。19人目はいるんだ。ベアトリーチェは実在するんだ。じゃあマリア、これくらいは教えてくれるよな。奴はこの3人をどうやって殺したんだ？何をどうやったらあんなむごい殺し方ができるんだ？
知らない。
知らねえってことはねえだろ。
Because he was
この部
looking.
屋での出来事だぞ。歌を歌うのに夢中で気づかなかったとか言い出すんじゃねえだろうな。
落ち着いてバトラ君。マリアちゃん、僕とお話ししよう。ね。
Judge Nikki, as he always did, crouched down next to Maria so that their eyes met and talked to her very kindly.
マリアちゃんはどうして壁を向いてお歌を歌っていたのかな？
うん、ベアトリーチェがここでね、壁を向いてお歌をずっと歌っていなさいって言ったの。うん。
じゃあベアトリーチェがここへやってきたんだね。その時にはまだ源氏さんたちは生きていたんだよね。
うん、みんなで客間に来て座ってた。
Okay.
源氏さんはちゃんと鍵をかけてたよ。
Oh.
確かに鍵はかかってたが、じゃあどうやってベアトリーチェは客間に入ってきたってんだよ。
おお、でもベアトリーチェは魔女だから鍵なんか関係ない。蝶々になって扉の隙間から通り抜けてきたんだよ。
はあ？冗談も休み休み言いやがる。そんなわけねえだろ。お前は何を言ってやがるんだ。
信じられないよね。だから言いたくなかった。どうせ言っても信じないもん。でもベアトリーチェは魔女なの。不思議な魔法で何でもできるの。だからベアトリーチェは鍵のかかった扉なんか全然関係ないんだよ。
それで現れたベアトリーチェは、そしてみんなはどうしたの？
ベアトリーチェは言ったよ。おじいさまの書斎は強力な力に守られていてどうしても入れない。だからあと3人の生贄はこの客間の4人の中から選ぶって。みんな嫌だって言ったよ。熊沢さんは嫌だ嫌だってすごい。でもベアトリーチェは選ぶよ。そしたらね、ベアトリーチェはマリアはいいよって言ってくれたの。どうしてだと思う？
What do you think?
バトラがマリアの安全を祈って念を込めてくれた、あの火星の5の魔法陣のサソリのお守りがあったからだよ。だからその力で、ベアトリーチェは私にだけは何もできなかった。
Can do anything to me and to me alone, because Battler recklessly gave her the scorpion charm.
だから生贄はマリアじゃない3人に決まったの。そしたらね、ベアトリーチェはね、言ったの。
さあさあ、壁に向かってお歌を歌って聞かせなさい。あなたはたくさんたくさんお歌を歌うから、何が起こっても何が聞こえても、聞こえない聞こえないわからない。さあさあ、楽しいお歌をわらわにたくさん聞かせておくれ。
だからマリアはずっとお歌を歌ってた。ずっと歌ってたんだよ。だから何も聞こえない、わからない。そしたらバトラたちがやってきたんだよ。
それを信じろってのか？バカにするんじゃねえぜ。
じゃあ今度は誰を疑う？マリアを疑う？マリアをこの場で殺してみる？そんなことしてもベアトリーチェはいなくならない。これで第8の番は終わったよ。ベアトリーチェは蘇る。
ふざけんな。もうそんな話は金輪際ごめんだぜ。
Then kill her and see what
魔
happens.
女なんているもんか。煙に巻かれてたまるか。俺は認めねえぞ。ベアトリーチェなんていいね。絶対に俺が認めねえ。だから存在なんかさせねえ。蘇りもさせねえ。伝説は永遠に伝説のままだ。
So I won't let her exist. I won't let her revive.
この俺がそんなことを認めねえ。
So you do acknowledge that she is existing then.
よせよバトラ。マリアが殺したわけでも見殺しにしたわけでもない。ベアトリーチェが来てマリアは抵抗できず従わざるを得なかっただけだぜ。
あれ？
Huh?
夏日おばさん？おばさんがいない！あれ？
母さんどこ行ったの？
Uh-oh. That's not good.
さっき手紙を読みながら一人で出て行ったよ。
A letter? That makes sense. The culprit must be so exhilarated now that we've reached the 8th twilight. We might have left the letter so that they could brag even more. We were so wrapped up in questioning Maria that we forgot to look for a letter. But even as well-armed as she was, why had she left the room by herself in this dangerous mansion after reading it? Jessica tried to chase after her and tugged at the handle of the door, but it resisted strangely and wouldn't open.
母さん、お母さん、何これ？開けて！開けて！
It was only natural. Natsuki had picked up the candle stand, which Butler had thrown at the wall and which had fallen to the floor. She had then skillfully wedged it between the doorknobs on the double doors like a bolt holding them closed. The intricate design of the candle stand caused it to get caught solidly, and it really did make a sturdy seal on the door. The tragic scream of a daughter for her mother. Did it reach Natsuki's ears or not? This is getting really amusing. Natsuki's figure was alone in the entrance hall. It was the place decorated by the portrait of Beatrice. Natsuki threw down Beatrice's last letter, the one she had read in the parlor. Reading her rifle, and in a voice that rang clear, yelled in the massive space that was the entrance hall.
後ろ宮家代表、 後宮夏日です。姿を見せなさい。黄金の魔女、ベアトリーチェ。
The entrance hall was dimly lit. Other than a faint light which shone on the center of the room, everything was blotted out by the jet black darkness. In that darkness, butterflies glittered in gold, squirmed, twinkled, and sneered. Natsuhi gave one more huge gulp and pointed the cold barrel of the gun at the golden
ようや
butterflies.
く姿を現しましたね。あなたのような存在が。私は未だ信じることができない。でも、それは問題ではありません。後宮家の代表であると自負する私と、後宮家の当主を引き継いだと自称するあなたが、今この場にいる。あなたが本当に魔女なのかどうかは、今となっては些細な問題です。さあ、決着をつけましょう。後宮家を真に引き継ぐ者はどちらか。この後宮夏日か、あなたベアトリーチェか。あなたの決闘の申し出、謹んでお引き受けさせていただきます。
Oh. Uh-oh, that's not good. The gold butterfly slowly formed a human shape which walked into the dim light. Natsuhi raised the rifle and glared. The witch raised her golden staff overhead and laughed. Natsuhi's finger slowly squeezed the trigger.
せーの
Mother made an all-out dash at the door and ran into it, crushing the candle stand that had been burying it and making it possible for a big gap to be opened in the door. He kept kicking the candle stand through the gap to that gap, and the door was finally released. At that moment, they heard it. They certainly heard the crisp sound of gunfire ringing out once.
ジェシカちゃん、一人で先走っちゃいけない。
今のは銃声だぜ。夏代おばさんが撃ったんだ。
At whim, at the culprit. The noise had come from the entrance hall, and the entrance hall looked like a stage, like the heroine of a tragedy on the ground and bathed in light. Arrayed in the beauty of that silence, Anasi laid face up, crumbled on the floor. Half crazed, Jessica ran up to Aunt Nazi's forehead. It was almost as though a sparkling sharp of penguin blood ruby had been placed there. Pigeon blood. And from it, one stream of blood makeup passed by her eye and began to traverse her face. The faint smell of gunpowder smoke came from the barrel of the rifle Aunt Natsuhi still grasped. Then she shot herself in the forehead? Why?
わけがわからない。
She didn't shoot herself in the
どうしてお
forehead.
ばさんは一人で抜け出して、どうして自分の額を撃ち抜いているんだよ。
マリアちゃん、夏日おばさんは手紙を読んでから部屋を出たんだよね。手紙がない。くそ、おばさんは何を読んで、どうしてここに誘い出されたんだ。
知らねえぜ、知らねえぜ。なんなんだよ。どうして自殺なんだよ。
Didn't kill herself.
私を置いてくんだよ。
Jessica clung to her mother's corpse, crying earnestly. Mother's corpse. My body was consumed with an anger I didn't know what to do with, and I snapped the rifle from Aunt Natsuhi's hand. I spun around, pointed the barrel of the gun into the darkness on all sides, as though I was pointing a light from a lighthouse trying to find the culprit. George and Nikki, even in this situation, was trying to calmly figure something out, but that might have been a fruitless effort. And only Maria was completely indifferent. So, is this all supposed to be some kind of predetermined fate? No, that's not it. This is all a prelude to a wonderful world. The door to the golden land will finally open.
第9の晩に魔女は蘇り、誰も生き残れはしない。そして第10の晩に旅は終わり、黄金の里へ至るだろう。これで全部終わったね、ベアトリーチェ。おめでとう、おめでとう。だからマリアを導いて。あなたの話してくれた黄金鏡へ。今こそ。
There, all of the dead will be revived, and even lost love will be restored. So in Maria's eye, it's just as though all of today's tragedies didn't happen. It's as though all the time she spent deprived of love never happened.
いい加減にしやがれ。何が楽しい、何がおめでたい。この島には18人いた。14人死んだ。残りは俺たち4人だ。俺は絶対に死なねえぞ。夜が明けるまで、いや台風が過ぎ去ってまた船着き場に海猫たちが帰ってくるまで、俺は絶対に死なねえんだよ。
And how are you gonna keep yourself from that dying?
生き残ってやる、生き残ってやる、絶対。
よしなよバトラー。ベアトリーチェに銃なんて意味ないよ。それに生き残るも何ももうおしまいなんだよ。もう旅は終わったんだよ。
The journey has already ended.
時計を見てごらん。
Huh? The clock. Hearing those words, I look at my wristwatch. Both needles were almost touching near the top. Very soon it will be 12 o'clock at night. In other words, 24 hours. When you think about it, isn't 24 hours is a strange time. It could be called 24 hours, and it could also be called 000. It's the hour at the culmination of the previous day, and at the same time, it's hour 0 at the next day begins. Maria suddenly called out happily and ran towards the darkness. It was almost as though Beatrice was somewhere in that darkness, and Maria was running up to her. As Jessica hugged her mother's corpse, and George and Nikki stood there confused, I looked down at the barrel of the rifle, gazing into the darkness. The space in front of Beatrice's portrait lay in that direction, and the thing Maria was running up to was the portraits. You've got to be kidding me. This is just impossible. Like I'd fall for something like this. Witches don't exist. I won't accept it. Running up to was the portrait subject. Okay. Oh, he won't accept it, huh? Something like you shouldn't exist. Because this is a human world. You think I could accept something that's not human? I definitely won't accept it. When I pulled hard on the rifle's lever, the cartridge was ejected, fell on the floor, and a new cartridge was loaded. Then I sighted the witch down the barrel. Maria turned around. Still clinging to the golden witch, she turned around.
だから意味なんてないってば。ベアトリーチェに鉛玉なんて意味ないってば。バカだね、人間は。
俺は魔女なんて認めねえぞ。貴様は誰だ。一歩でも動いてみろ。指一本でも動かしてみろ。こいつをぶち込んでやる。
Okay, blast her then. As the witch, no, the witches laughed. Even the large clock in the hall joined in on their laughter. It was probably telling us that the time was 2400 hours. It was both a tone telling us that we had reached the culmination of this day, and a tone informing us that all had returned to nothing. The rule that the witch would win when time ran out had already been revealed.
ジョージ兄ちゃんにジェシカ、旅は終わって魔女は蘇ったよ。
And none shall be left alive. The witch shall praise the wise and bestow four treasures. One shall be all the gold from the golden land. One shall be the resurrection of all the dead souls. One shall be the resurrection of the love that was lost. One shall be to put the witch to sleep for all time. Sleep peacefully, my beloved witch Beatrice. It's time. And everyone is now dead. The storm passed, and the laden clouds that had enshrouded the island for so long cleared away. From the rifts between the clouds, sunbeams shone, and yesterday's storm seemed like a lie. Just as someone had wished, the seagulls returned to the harbor once again and let their lively cries be heard. Afterwards, the police came and conducted an investigation of the scene. The corpses of the children who were thought to have survived until the very end were never found. However, because of the body parts that were discovered and the unimaginary gruesome nature of the scene, the police were forced to conclude that the chances of their survival of the 18 children seemed unlikely. Just how gruesome was the banquet of the witch, and how beautiful was the golden land. They were the only ones who got to hear that tale. No tales were told to those humans who arrived after the banquet was over. The best way they can do was imagine what might have happened during those 2 days. However, the witch was fickle. She made a point of leaving behind this tale, which didn't need to be heard. It was all allowed to spread. Then, many years later, a strange wine bottle that had drifted on the waves to the pier of the island inside the thin written. Damn, I cannot on this fast. This incident was later called by many names such as the Rokinjima mass murder. Okay. Lovers of the occult claim it was all the result of immortality resurrection. However, not one of these interpretations approached the truth. Further, while the notebook fragments describe this mysterious incident, or perhaps even the writer. I'm trying to read this, but according to the writer, her name was Ushiro Maria. Incidentally, as a result of an all-out police investigation, parts of Maria's body, a part of her jaw, was discovered. It was one of the rare. Okay. And so, let us conclude this tale with the final section of the notebook fragments that Ushiro Maria left behind. By the time you have read this, I will probably be dead. Although there are there may or may not be a corpse. You who have read this, please find out the truth. That's my only wish. Ushiro Maria. To this very day, the truth of the Witch of Legend serial murder has not been brought to light. First game. Legend of the Golden Witch results. Kraus died on the first twilight. Ruda died on the first twilight. Kyrie, Rosa, Shannon died on the first twilight. Ava died on the second. And Hideyoshi second. Kinzo died on the fourth. Kanen died on the fifth. Genji on the sixth. Dr. Danjo seventh. Kumasawa 8th. Witch Beatrice revived on the 9th day, finally opened the door to the Golden. Nazi died on the 9th twilight. George missing. Jessica missing. Ushio Maria missing. Battler died on the 10th twilight. Will the witch invite this man who denied her existence to the Golden Land? The witch will praise the wise and shall bestow 4 treasures upon the chose his lost fiancée. Jessica chose the boy she liked and lost. Chose the love of her mother. Sleeping peacefully, Beatrice. Let nothing disturb your slumber even. The winner is the Golden Witch Beatrice. Time runs before even the 8th saw all 18 people when the sequels cry. This thing goes fast. Way too fast. I wanted to read all of that, but I couldn't. I tried reading it, guys. I do apologize, but I could not read it. You know what? I want this to end like this. This would be the perfect ending for me right here.